Commanders' worst fears are finally coming true. Terry McLaurin's Iron Man status is officially over, no longer in question. It's not there anymore. He has been downgraded to out for Sunday. This receiver room is in complete shambles. Deebo Samuel might play. The Commanders released Tay Martin from the team today. He can't be elevated off the practice squad. There is so much going on right now, and it all seems to be negative. So how bad is it really? What's the injury situation? How do the Commanders scrape a win on Sunday? And what happens if they don't? Guys, we are live for another stream. If you are joining me here, do me a favor, get that like button pressed, smash that like button. Let's shoot this video out into the YouTube algorithms, get it out there. Let's take over this Commanders YouTube thing. As always, as we go through here, make sure you're getting your comments in the live chat. I'll make sure to pull them up and we can talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Me and my fiance, we got a date later tonight. We're going to 99 floors. I'm sure you've seen the ads everywhere, just like I have. So I'm excited to get out there. So I am on a little bit of a time restriction tonight. Got y'all for about an hour or so, then I got to get out of here. But doesn't mean we're not going to have some great conversations. I'm going to make sure I update you guys on all the latest news that's going on. Again, what's the newest with the injury front? And as always, get some questions from the chat, and we can talk about all that. So give me just a second. I'm going to let some people roll in here, and then we'll get started. How's everybody doing this afternoon? Friday? Anybody got some big Friday plans? Let me know where you're going. You got anything fun going on tonight? Make sure we throw it in the chat there. Got something here from Paper Trail. I think the only way we fix this situation is for AP as well as the fans to admit we are too hasty in being all in on the Super Bowl. I think we have to be sellers at the deadline, recoup some draft picks. So I promise to circle back to this later in the video because I have something written down. Got it from Pro Football Focus. And it's something very relevant to what you are saying right here. So when we get to it, I will come back to this. Okay, I see the people piling up in here. Again, guys, if you are joining me, make sure that like button is hit. So let's talk about Terry McLaurin. As always, can't stop talking about Terry right now. Feels like back in the summer. I swear I was posting 2 videos a day talking about Terry for like a good month or 2 straight there. And it feels like we're caught back in that cycle because everybody wanted Terry to play. Heck, everybody rightfully expected Terry to play on Sunday. When he got injured and he wasn't put on IR, that means the implication is he's not going to be out for 4 games. Otherwise, he would have been on IR. Well, that's no longer true. He will be out on Sunday. Dan Quinn confirmed at his press conference today that there is only one Commanders player who officially will not be ready to go on Sunday. And as we now know, that is Terry McLaurin. He said he expected him to be a full participant in Thursday's practice, which was a speed practice where you could really test and evaluate how McLaurin was doing. However, he wasn't comfortable enough to do it. Terry wasn't feeling up for it. His body wasn't ready for it. DQ said that caught him by surprise. As always, he said Terry is working hard, talked about his competitiveness. We know the same stuff DQ is always going to say, but ultimately he is not ready to go. Didn't say much as to exactly what is going on with the injury. He clarified with Noah Brown there was not a setback. He did not say that about Terry. He didn't really say what is going on. He didn't clear up if it's quad, hip flex, or any of that. All he said was with these things, there's a lot that goes into it, accelerating, decelerating, making cuts, all that stuff. So didn't really learn anything from that aside from the fact that he will not be good to go on Sunday. Now, I put this out in a video earlier today that I posted on my channel. If you guys missed that, make sure you go check it out. But I mentioned in this video that there's a clip from Rio Robinson's stream on his YouTube channel yesterday. He was talking to Lake Lewis Jr., who is an NFL insider, and Lake Lewis said that he doesn't think Terry is going to be ready for the Cowboys. Obviously, we know that's true, but he also doesn't think he's going to be ready for the Chiefs. And I got to give myself a little pat in the back here because I'm not an NFL insider. Heck, I could call myself an analyst, but really all I did was start a YouTube channel and talk to you guys. I don't think that gives me any sort of, doesn't make me esteemed in any way. That doesn't give me some crazy credentials. All I do is just talk and go off of what other people are reporting and what my own assumptions are based off of that. But what I had said was, if Thursday's the evaluation day and Terry can't even show up for the evaluation, he's not feeling healthy enough to even take the test in the first place. Not only is he obviously not going to play on Sunday, he's not going to play next week either. That's what I said. And we got that report coming out. And with this news, there's only one Commander who's out for Sunday, and it is Terry. There's a lot of guys questionable. One is definitively out. That's Terry. Yeah, I don't think he's playing against the Chiefs either. I'm already going to go on record and say that. DQ did say that, well, I shouldn't say he said anything. He did not say there is an immediate jump to put Terry on IR. when the question was posed to him, hey, if he's going to miss 4 games, why didn't you put him on IR initially? DQ basically said, well, you don't really know with these things. We had thought it might be a 1 to 3 week injury. We didn't want to rule him out and lose him for a mandatory 4 games. We thought he might be back by this point, but obviously they were off the mark with that, just like they were with Noah Brown. And this reflects poorly on Adam Peters. This reflects poorly on Nance Newmark. This reflects poorly on Dan Quinn, on the medical staff, on everybody involved in this. And it's actually worse with Noah. I don't want to detract from that. I don't know how it's possible you think someone's going to be back within 4 weeks. They don't have a setback, and then you realize it's a minimum 2-month injury. I don't get how that happens, but the fact it happened twice with players in the same position group, no, that's not acceptable. So what's the Commanders wide receiver room on Sunday going to look like? Well, Deebo might be playing. He was a limited participant at practice today. He is questionable for Sunday. According to Nikki Jobvala of The Athletic, when she asked him how he was doing, he said, I'm feeling all right. Deebo's not a man who uses a lot of unnecessary words. He's very concise, gets to the point very quickly. He said that playing with the injury is aggravating. And when she asked him if he's going to play on Sunday, he said, we'll just have to see. In my mind, as I've said numerous times, Deebo is going to keep playing. He's going to keep playing for the foreseeable future. He's just not going to be practicing. And that's obviously not great for the team. I don't know how effective he's going to be. I think the Bears definitely made it a point of emphasis to slow down Deebo and some of the gimmicky stuff that Cliff Kingsbury runs, the bubble screens, the jet sweeps, things like that. I definitely think the Bears not only made it a focus to stop that, but they were also equipped to stop that because they practice against Ben Johnson every day. But nonetheless, Deebo had 4 catches for 15 yards in that game. So how effective is he going to be against Dallas? Your guess is as good as mine. So the Commanders receiver room, it's going to be Chris Moore at the X. We know that. That is a certainty. I am hoping we get more touches and more snaps, more reps for Luke McCaffrey. Jalen Lane had a nice play on that stop and go up the right side where he burned Tyreek Stevenson with a double move. He could probably see some reps. I would assume they're going to elevate Ja'Cory Brooks because they did it last week. I would assume they're going to elevate Robbie Chosen because if you have Deebo, Luke, Lane, Moore, and Brooks, that's 5. You'd want a 6th receiver, so I'd assume Robbie Chosen would be in the mix. And then at some point, heck, it might even be this weekend. Maybe Treylon Burks makes his Commander's debut. The report, and I pay attention to the words people use when they say certain things because people will give themselves away without even meaning to sometimes. When Ian Rappaport said the Commanders had signed Treylon Burks, he also threw in there, expect an elevation quickly. What does that mean? Now, my guess is he's not playing on Sunday, but let's not act like the Commanders aren't desperate for bodies right now. So I'm not going to definitively say Treylon Burks isn't playing this weekend. I don't think he will, but if Deebo gets ruled out, can you imagine? And then your receivers are Lane and Luke and Moore and Brooks and Chosen and Burks. That's where we're at with all of this. A good note from Grant Paulson that I saw on his Twitter account, which was it's a little strange that we haven't heard anything from Terry. I've literally nothing at all. There's been no press conferences. You haven't heard anything in the locker room with him. There's been no updates really from the team. There's been no disclosures or elaborations of what the injury is. There's nothing. It feels a lot like we are back in the summer when the negotiation was going on and nobody heard from Terry until we had that Eastern Motors press conference. And then from that point on, all he would do was go to practice, not say anything to anybody, and then run off and hide. This entire year with Terry has been so strange. It's been so weird. It's been so disconnected. It's hard to predict what's coming. ATA Custom Payday. I'm starting to think Terry got hurt in the offseason, kind of how Fitzpatrick hurt himself at the pool during that one offseason. Then he re-aggravated during the almost TD. Well, yeah, it was a touchdown. I'm going to continue to say that because the fact the NFL has a replay system that is meant to be kind of like soccer's VAR. It's meant to be the end-all, be-all. We're going to get it right 100% of the time. You can't change the call based on that review, and that review got it wrong is crazy to me. But I get your point. It was not called a touchdown. This isn't a bad take, to be completely honest. And if Terry did get hurt If Terry did get hurt working out on his own, he's not going to report that to the team while he's in the middle of these contract negotiations. The whole reason he wasn't at practice with the team is because he didn't want to get hurt there. So if that happened, definitely a part of it. Did they release Tay Martin? They did. They did release Tay Martin. He had used his 3 practice squad elevations. The only way he was going to get in another game this season is if they signed him to the active roster. And with Treylon Burks coming in, he chose the number 13, which was last assigned to Tay Martin, literally took it the day after they cut him. So I think the implication is there is Tay Martin is not coming back to this team. In some ways, he's almost a victim of being ahead of the other practice squad guys. He was clearly ahead of Ja'Cory Brooks in the pecking order and some of the other players, the Jacoby Joneses of the world. And that's why he was getting elevated. But obviously the Commanders don't think he is a long-term enough answer to fill an active roster spot. So Tay Martin, thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being part of the team, and good luck to you in the future. Grant, you've been consistent. This channel's been posting for 4 months, right? How many vids have you dropped? That's a good question. Why don't we go find out? I know I don't have many live streams. I have 8 live streams. I have... How many videos do I have? I have 122 videos. The first one I posted was on May 29th, although I wasn't really consistent at that point. I got consistent with it on July 19th is when I started posting basically every day. So July, August, September, October. So we're about, August, September, October. We're about 3 months of consistent posting. And now we've got some streams going on as well. You know, it's funny that you say I've been consistent. It's funny you say I've been consistent because I've had this kind of my whole life. I don't know if it was being an athlete. I don't know if it was just the way my parents raised me, but it was always easy for me to just stay in a rhythm. So if I created this channel and I told myself I'm going to post twice a week, I wouldn't be able to do it. The channel would have died by now. The fact I say every morning I'm going to do this every evening, it's just easier for me. It's the way my brain works. Every time there's a Terry injury update, trade rumor, or he is underperforming, everybody takes a shot. Lazarus, we're going to be drunk as hell. We're going to be drunk as hell if that's what happens. Okay, let me get back to my notes here. Okay, Dorance Armstrong. More injury updates here. Dorance Armstrong's a big one for me because obviously he's been one of the best pass rushers in the NFL this season. He's got either 5.5 or 6 sacks. He's top 5 in the NFL for sacks. Got really good pressure rate numbers and things like that. But also very quietly, he's done a phenomenal job of setting the edge in the run game. And with Dietrich Wise already out, with Javonte Jean-Baptiste already out, Dorance Armstrong did not practice today. He is questionable to play on Sunday. If Dorance Armstrong doesn't play this weekend, you guys are going to see some of the worst defense you've ever seen. Seriously. We already know the secondary is awful right now. Now, do they have the talent to get better? Can they figure something out? It's out there. They could do it. They do have the talent to get better, but the way they're performing right now, they're allowing the most yards per completion in the NFL. They're terrible on 3rd and 4th down. The secondary is. Whenever the defensive line doesn't generate pressure, they allowed the highest yards per attempt in the NFL. So you really feel like your pass coverage is almost dependent on the pass rush front. And Dorance Armstrong, the best player in that's not going to be available. That's going to mean this has to be a big, big Frankie Louvu game if Armstrong does not play. But also against the run, I'm going to be honest, you're just screwed. You are just screwed because you're going to have Jalen Holmes and Preston Smith and Louvu trying to set the edge. And it's just not going to happen. The Cowboys have been blocking phenomenally. Don't really care if you're going against a bad offensive line. Those players are not edge setters against the run. You saw how it looked against the Bears. By far, the Commanders' worst run defense performance of the season. And you don't have speed in the middle of the field to account for it. Joe Witt Jr. said at his press conference that it's not a speed issue. It's about fitting the run and setting the edge. And he's correct, but you can't set the edge. You're just not capable of it with the players you have right now. Fitting the run has been an issue for a lot of the linebackers and secondary players, Bobby Wagner not included, although he was bad on Monday. That's been an issue all year, so why would I expect that to change in this game? So, eyes on Dorance Armstrong. Honestly, probably the most important injury update we have. I think Dorance Armstrong is more important to the team's success than Terry McLaurin is right now. Zach Ertz, Jonathan Jones, Sam Cosmi, all also questionable. Ertz was limited at practice today. I'm going to go out on limb and take a guess that that's because he's 34, 35 years old, whatever it was. I think he will be playing. Cosmi and Jones practiced in full. Cosmi been practicing in full for like a week and a half or 2 weeks now. Andrew Wiley he did all right in that Raiders game when he took over the starting job. Actually, he did good. I'm not gonna deprive him. He did good, but he's not been good the last few weeks. He's been really bad. So if Cosmi is legitimately ready to go, get him out on the field. Get him out there on the field and just run the ball. Slide him next to Connolly. That'll make Connolly's life easier. Chris Paul's been doing really well. Tunsil's been doing really well. So get him on the field if it is possible. Put Ja'Cory Brooks in 100%. I'm a Ja'Cory Brooks guy. He was what was his recruiting ranking? Recruiting profile. Let's see. Ja'Cory Brooks was a 4-star. No, sorry, he's a 4-star transfer. He was a 5-star coming out of high school. That's what I thought. He was a 98 overall, according to 247. He was the second-ranked receiver in his class in the whole country, number 7 player in the state of Florida, number 27 player nationally. So he was a big-time recruit, spends 3 years at Alabama, 1 year at Louisville, has a 1,000-yard season. I think he had something like 800 yards as a sophomore at Bama. I'm a Ja'Cory Brooks guy. Oftentimes, he looked like the best players on the Commanders during the preseason, and you don't have options. The only way that I would be happy not seeing Ja'Cory Brooks on the field is if it means we're getting a lot of Luke McCaffrey reps, if we're getting a lot of Jalen Lane reps. Even then, I would still like to see Brooks get a couple of shots here and there, but I guess we'll see what happens. Talked about it a little in your most recent vid. What's a realistic trade and a best case scenario trade for Waddle? Best case scenario to me is honestly, I don't know. I think Josh Taylor is his name, of A to Z Sports, said that he thinks 2/3 would get the deal done. I disagree with that. I push back on that. If that's the deal, make it. I know we all want to save future draft capital, and I'm totally on board with that, but losing thirds is not the most punitive thing in the world, and it's for a 26-year-old receiver who's really good, a guy who can be a part of your future, and a guy who contributes to your present as well, so that while all these injuries are going on, Jaden's out there, not out there with a bunch of practice squad guys. That's probably my best case scenario, those 2/3, if that can happen. Realistically, the Dolphins know they suck. They've got cap issues. I think they would want, if they're going to get a young guy, like we're not trading Johnny Newton, would they want Ben Sinnott? Would they want Brandon Coleman? If you can get one of those guys who is still a very young player with this talent that maybe hasn't materialized yet, and then you can add in a second or a third to that, that's probably my best case and realistic scenario for Waddle. So, big question here. How do the Commanders keep pace with the Cowboys on Sunday? Well, this is a massive game, not just because it's the rivalry, Commanders-Cowboys, not just because it's the next game on the schedule. According to Pro Football Focus, if the Commanders win on Sunday, they have a 52% chance to make the playoffs. If they lose, that drops to 26%. I think that's still overselling it a little bit. I think, and granted, this is off the top of my head, I'm sure a bunch of computer simulations have been run, so this is probably more accurate than what I'm saying. But because the Commanders have lost all of those tiebreakers because of the injury situation, I think really they have like a 45% chance of making the playoffs with a win on Sunday, and a loss probably drops to like 15 in my eyes. That's just the way I see it. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that or not, but it is a big game nonetheless. It's a huge swing depending on the outcome. So how do the Commanders actually walk into, they play in Arlington, right? It's not Dallas. It's in Arlington. How do they walk into Arlington, and how do they walk out of there with a win? The secondary has to be opportunistic. I use that word it's a conscious decision. I use that word on purpose. I don't say they have to be good. I don't say they have to be stingy, because that's not realistic. The Cowboys have the number 1 offense in the NFL right now. Dak's playing at an MVP level. George Pickens, over his last few games, had an offensive player of the year trajectory. CeeDee Lamb's coming back. It's just not going to happen. The secondary will not shut the water off for the Dallas offense. So they have to be opportunistic. If Dak is going to do what Caleb Williams did and throw a ball to Mikey in the chest, he has to catch that. They have to get a PBU on 4th down. They have to continue to get stops in the red zone. Turn a red zone drive from a touchdown, change it to a field goal. Things like that. Give up the 90 yards and then make the play. That's what has to happen on that side of the football. Now, the offense, Jaden's got a lot to do. And Jaden can do a lot. It's unfair. It's not unrealistic. It is unfair of me to ask so much more of Jaden Daniels without any of his top weapons than it is for me to ask of the defense that is essentially not fully equipped, but they've got more available to them. But it is the reality of the situation. Jaden Daniels has to lead this team to 30 points with a bunch of practice squad receivers. It has to happen. When you get to the red zone, no field goals, touchdowns only. When you're on fourth down at the Dallas 40 to 50 yard line, well, nobody owns the 50 yard line. You know what I'm saying? From midfield to the Dallas 40 yard line, no punts, no field goals. Do not put this game in the hands of your defense. Do not put this game in the hands of Matt Gay. Dial back to what you did last year. Best fourth down team in NFL history. Always aggressive. This is potentially for the season. Seriously. And you're going to have people out there who say, man, it's barely the middle of December. You can't be playing a game for the season. It's just not, it's not realistic. You can go on a 7-game win streak like the Redskins did in 2012. People are going to say that. They're going to be right. They're going to be right in principle. Of course, if the Commanders start 3-5 and then they win their next, 9 games, obviously they're going to make the playoffs, okay? But don't fool yourselves. You have just lost to the Bears. If you lose, you would have lost to the Cowboys. And then your immediate schedule is the Chiefs in Arrowhead, the Seahawks, the Lions. You still have 2 games against the Eagles on the schedule. You still have to play at Minnesota, the best coach team in the NFL. Be realistic with yourself. So we have to win this game. So throw caution to the wind. On those fourth downs, take your chances. If there's someone who's going to determine what happens in this game, I don't want it to be Trey Amos. No offense, Trey Amos has been awesome this year. Seriously, awesome. I don't want it in the hands of Mike Sainristil. I don't want it in the hands of Quan Martin, Marshawn Lattimore, Bobby Wagner, Deron Payne. I want it in the hands of Jaden Daniels. So an aggressive game script. I don't care that he turned the ball over twice. That doesn't make me worried that he's going to do it again. That makes me confident it's not going to happen. I know Jaden's pride. I know the way that he attacks this game, his preparation, his opponents, and going on the road against a bitter rival. I saw what he did against Florida back in college when he produced arguably the best quarterback performance of the last however many years. So yes, put this game in Jaden's hands. Will the Terry McLaurin deal end up as bad as the Albert Hainsworth deal? I've seen a couple of people saying that. So let me just pull up the exact numbers to refresh everybody of what we were talking about. So when Albert Hainsworth signed his contract, he signed a 7-year, $100 million deal. 7 years, $100 million is absolutely diabolical. At the time, that was, of course, the highest paid deal for any defensive tackle, and I don't think it was close either. So his first season in Washington, he plays in 12 games. He has 29 tackles, 4 sacks. Next year, he plays in 8 games, has 13 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and then he's off the team from that point on. So to answer this question, no. There's probably not going to be many things for the rest of time. There's probably not going to be as many contracts that are as bad as that. Now, what's going to actually determine how bad this deal is what happens to Terry probably this offseason. Because I've said at this point, when it looked like Terry was only going to miss 1 game, maybe 2 games, I was still, I don't want to say defending him because that's not what I was doing. I wasn't sticking up for Terry. I was sticking up for the season, saying we can go 500. Heck, maybe we can have a winning record without him. When he gets back, if we're going to go on this playoff run, let's see him in the high leverage games. You'll want a number 1 receiver. Let's wait to form any judgment. That's what I was saying. Now that we're 4 games in, I was having a conversation with someone in the comments on my video from this morning. Again, check it out if you missed it. I was having a conversation, and basically they had posed the question, what's the likelihood Terry is ever as good of a player as he was last season? And my answer was, it's very unrealistic at this point, which actually is a good segue. I'm going to take your comment off the screen here. This is a good segue. I want to share my screen for you guys because I saw a tweet earlier and I thought it was perfect. So this is from Burgundy Blog. McLaurin spent the summer arguing that age is just a number. 30 wouldn't hit him like everyone else. He proceeded to sustain a vague, unnameable hip ailment on a light tackle in the third game, and a month later, he's still doing calisthenics. Terry will be back for the playoffs. He will have fresh legs to help make the plays we're going to need to take us over the top. This is a bad ratio, ladies and gentlemen. 7 likes, 25 comments. I'm not going to click that because it's probably going to have some nasty stuff on there. But that tweet very much reflects how I feel and how a lot of us feel right now. Yes, Terry did argue. Terry's main selling points. Oh, took myself off the screen. Sorry about that. Terry's main selling points in his contract negotiations were consistency and availability. I get 1,000 yards every season. I get 75 receptions every season. I never miss more than one game. That's how it goes. Well, consistency, he arguably got off to the worst start of his NFL career. And then availability, he had missed, 3 games in his NFL career? He's missed 4 in the last 4 weeks. So, to go back to this comment, will this deal end up as bad as the Albert Haynesworth deal? For me, it depends on what can the team trade Terry for this offseason. I'm no longer at the point I was just 2 or 3 weeks ago when I said, hey, let's wait to get in the playoffs. Me assuming the playoffs were a foregone conclusion. I was saying, let's wait, see those big games. I'm over it now. He's not going to be as good as he was last year. He's not going to be as good as he was at any point in his career, in my humble opinion. I don't know how long this injury is going to last. Just with any player, a 25-year-old, when you come back from an injury, not as good as you were before you suffered the injury. It takes time to build those things back up. And what's taking time for Terry? If he's out for week 7, we assume he's probably out for week 8 as well. Is he coming back in week 9, week 10, halfway through the season? So he's going to ramp up towards the end of the year. Let's say he gets back in week 9. Give him a month. He's by like week 14, we're saying he's in top shape. You got a month of the season left. You might not even make the playoffs. So you're going to get a month of peak Terry. And then the next time you'll see him will be next year when he's about to turn 31 years old. Of course, he's not going to be good as he was at 27. So if this deal is going to end up as bad as Albert Haynesworth, I don't think that's possible because I don't think anything can be that bad. But we will judge this contract on what the Commanders are able to recoup from him when they inevitably trade him. Thoughts on Trevon Diggs' injury and how it will affect the game? This is probably a good thing for the Cowboys. Now, I'm being a little facetious here, but Trevon Diggs not been good this season. He's remembered very fondly because he had that year where he had a bunch of interceptions. It's not that great. To be honest with you, Trevon Diggs is not that great. The Cowboys defense has been absolutely abysmal this season. I said it with the Bears. They had the worst run defense since 1934. Grady Jarrett was out. And I was like, does it really matter? Does it really matter your best run-stopping defensive tackle is out if you have the worst run defense in the NFL right now? The worst run defense of the last 90 years? So Kaiir Elam's going to get some snaps. He'll be going against practice squad guys. Does it really make a difference from that aspect? No, and maybe Kaiir Elam has a good game. Do you think he, being McLaurin, will be traded in the offseason? His trade values dropped severely due to this debacle. Yeah, what's going to have to happen is he's going to have to get back on the field, at least be able to play. And then a team's just going to have to be in contention mode. Maybe not be fully desperate, but maybe be desperate and say, hey, look, we're close to being a Super Bowl contender. We need a guy to take us over the top. Why not Terry McLaurin? Someone like the Steelers. Heck, if the Steelers, they keep saying they want a receiver. Maybe they'll do it in the middle of the season. I don't think the Commanders are trading Terry in the middle of the season, but maybe in the offseason, if Aaron Rodgers sticks around for another year, maybe they would do it. A team like that, a team in that position where they're close, they're not quite there. They think, maybe if we get this guy, that'll change everything for us. So that would be the team to do it. Our offense is going to need to score at least 30 to be in this game. If Dallas starts fast and we don't, it will be a long day. Well, Felix, I'm so glad that you brought this up because how could we forget? In 4 of the last 5 games, the Commanders have fallen into at least a 10-0 hole. 10-0 against the Chargers, 13-0 against the Bears, 14-0 against the Packers, and the Falcons was 10-0, I believe, as well. So for the last 5 games, they've fallen down double digits in the first quarter. Let's get an updated look at where the Commanders are in their first quarter scoring. Do I have that available? Yes, I do. Give me about 5 seconds here. Offense by quarter, team rankings. Some of these sites, I need to turn ad block back on. Some of these sites have so much crap slowing down their websites. The Commanders are still tied for second to last in first quarter scoring. They are averaging 2.3 points per first quarter. That is tied with the Cleveland Browns. That is below the New Orleans Saints and the Cincinnati Bengals. That is below the Miami Dolphins. That is below the New York Jets. And it is only above the Tennessee Titans, who, if I'm going to go out on a limb here, I'm going to say the Titans are the lowest scoring team in the NFL. No, they're second lowest. They got the Cleveland Browns beat by 0.1 points. Now, something I didn't expect to see here, did not expect to see this, and I did not know this. So Washington is 31st in first quarter scoring, 2.3 points per game. Cowboys are 28th. They're at 2.7. So for the Cowboys offense to be as good as it is, I guess they just don't get out to hot starts. I'm gonna look into that more. I'll get you guys some more numbers on that when I do my official game preview, which tomorrow's Saturday. Yeah, and Sunday's game day. So game preview coming out tomorrow. I will have more information for you on this in that video. I didn't expect to see that. I'm glad you. So this is why I love reading comments, because they inspire me to go look some stuff up. I feel front office is mistreating JD by hauling in these older dudes. I wouldn't go that far. They traded for a bona fide franchise left tackle. They then drafted a right tackle. Terry, if anything, they didn't mistreat. They didn't mistreat Jaden by bringing Terry back. They made sure they had his favorite target back. They did right by him. It just hasn't worked out, I think, is kind of where we're at. And we can get into the numbers and all that stuff. But if we are just to pretend the salary cap doesn't exist, they brought back his favorite target. They got him a franchise left tackle, got him a new right tackle. I think they did right by Terry in that respect. Since we're not going to get a pass rush anyway, I'm interested in seeing how a 4-down lineman of Newton, Kinlaw, Payne, Goldman looks. Have them do some stunts and let Luvu and Bobby work off of that. Yes, 100%. Very intelligent thought right there. One thing I meant to say in my video earlier today, and I guess I can bring it up now, probably will expand on it in my preview more tomorrow as well, but Kinlaw, defensive end. That's got to happen. And I know I don't think he loves playing defensive end. It presents some new challenges. He's not come out and say, no, I don't like it. It's just the general vibe I'm getting, but he's also willing to sacrifice for the team. Kinlaw's been a model citizen since he's been here, and he's been really good. If Dorance doesn't play, I've said it numerous times now, you can't set the edge. You just can't. So you got to get Kinlaw out there. He's got to be an elephant end, just shut down everything. And it's gonna hamper your pass rush, but at the very least, you can try to make the Cowboys a little predictable. You can just assume they're going to be throwing the football, because why would you run outside zone right into Javon Kinlaw? That just doesn't make any sense. What's your recommendation for how we get a fast start? Quick slants to Ertz, deep balls to Luke. I think it's got to be just a mixture of things, and I think Cliff has to keep the mixture of things. Wow, so thoughtful, so profound. That's the word I'm looking for. So profound of me. I do just genuinely believe you have to try to keep them off balance, though. You've got to get, the tornado option that I think was a sweep to lane with Luke lead blocking against the Bears. Stuff like that, more of these wacky formations, unbalanced looks where you have Tunsil at tight end, John Bates at right tackle, bubble screens, quick slants, deep shots. You just cannot be predictable. Now, the Dallas Cowboys defense is predictable. They are going to be in zone coverage. That's what they've done on like 90+% of their defensive plays this season. That's what Matt Eberflus loves. So make sure you are coaching up Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey, whoever's on the field. Hey, we're calling these plays. If your route is a drag, if your route is a dig, and you can identify that the defense is in zone, don't continue to run across the field. When you get to that soft spot, sit in the window, make yourself available for Jaden. And also, Jaden, let's get the knee brace off. Let's let him cut loose. Let's let him run around. Let's make him make some big plays. And above all else, I've said this for close to a month now, and finally last 2 weeks it has happened. Cliff has opened up the deep and intermediate passing game. He has. Jaden, I don't care if he's throwing a practice squad, guys. He showed you against the Chargers. He showed you against the Bears. He can make those throws. Now, the receivers might drop him here and there, but he can make the throws. And we can't be predictable. We can't be a line of scrimmage team going against an explosive team. Okay, think back to the NFC Championship game last year. The Commanders' first drive, I think, was 18 plays for 54 yards. If I got that exactly right, I got some problems. But I think it was 18 plays for 54 yards, and they kicked a field goal. They didn't score a touchdown on it. When that happened, I texted my Eagles friend. I said, this game is over. They had to put everything they had into nickeling and diming, multiple fourth down conversions to get a field goal. And I think the first play, right, the first play of the Eagles' next drive, they scored a touchdown on the Saquon run. And if it wasn't the first play, I think it was Saquon's first run. So when you are going against an explosive team, you can't take the paper cuts. You can't take the 3, 4, and 5 yard completions. You got to be willing to play that type of game and live with the consequences. Introduce some variance. If an interception happens, you know what, it happens. But I would much rather a Jaden Daniels interception on a 40-yard pass than getting to 4th and 6 because all we did was throw screens and run the ball in the A-gap. I've been seeing a lot about the Commanders trading for wide receiver, edge, and cornerback. Any linebackers you wouldn't mind the Commanders trading for if the price is right? I promise you, I will make a list of guys and I will circle back to this. I don't like really speaking off the top of my head if I don't have any information at all. And I would just have to think about who is available and who is realistic. So I promise I'll get back to this. Ooh, Kinlaw at DE might be interesting. Yeah, let's look. You know what? I'm not going to keep you guys in the dark either. Why don't I share my screen with you so you can see what I am looking at? Give me 1 second here. Whenever I Google stuff, I feel bad. I feel like you guys are just sitting there watching me type. So let's get this up on the screen. You guys can see that, right? Yes, you can. And let me take that off the screen. Okay. So let's look at Javon Kinlaw here. And I got to change the screen now because it loads a new tab because Pro Football Focus always opens a new tab whenever you open a new page on their site. And you guys can see that. Okay, so Javon Kinlaw this season has... Oh, shoot, this isn't going to tell me. Can we get something? Okay, so he's got 14 snaps in the A gap, 154 in the B gap, 73 over the tackle, and then 10 outside I believe is outside the tackle, so by the tight end. So this is about a 1-to-2 ratio here. So this is not exact, but most of the time, we'll say about 66% of the time, Kinlaw's in the B gap. About 33% of the time, he's over the tackle. So he is playing outside. It's not a foreign concept to him. And I remember when the Commanders signed him, I looked it up last year, and he had got something like a 50-50 split, I think, between playing in the B gap and then over the tackle. So it is something that he is accustomed to. Now, naturally, he would probably be in those positions on plays he's not used to. Like, he might spend some more third downs out there if the Commanders are going to follow this. And I wouldn't say on 3rd and 9, that's the place for him to be. But on a 3rd and 3, yeah, I would probably put him there. Because why not? I mean, we saw the Commanders were terrible at stopping the horizontal gap scheme runs, all that stuff last week against the Bears. And the Cowboys have been blocking very well, and they have been running very well. So I think it's something that is worth doing. I agree with being unpredictable. You get a fast start, but the key to that is staying ahead of the sticks. No sacks, no penalties, good gains on first down. Otherwise, it won't work. 100%. No negative plays. Can't be your own worst enemy. Josh Casey, own the Vikings QB coach, would be an amazing offensive mind for Jaden Daniels. Yeah, I mean, anything coming out of the Vikings, they are just such a class organization, so well coached, always got good game plans, make good adjustments on the fly. I would take anybody coming out of Minnesota. I feel like I had something else to show you guys, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, you know what? I do remember, actually. You know what? I'll share my screen again. Why not? Just so you guys can get a look at everything that I see. Let me find exactly where it is. Now let me get the banner off of the screen for you guys. Okay, so I know you're asking yourself, what are we looking at right here? So with me talking about the Commanders having this problem defending or setting the edge against teams that can run the ball in any sort of capacity. Well, let me show you something that might be the saving grace here. So the Dallas Cowboys run. Wait, why did this just change? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at defense. I mean to be looking at offense. So the Dallas Cowboys run inside the tackles at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL. You see that right here? Oh, Dallas Cowboys, number 3. This is your inside run rate. Inside the tackles on 56% of their runs. So they're not, the way they've attacked teams this season, they haven't attacked the edges as much. Now, granted, Ben Johnson put a lot of really good film out there, so hopefully they're not paying attention to that and they didn't see all that. But let's just assume they didn't see it. Let's assume that they go with their standard approach. The Commanders defending against inside tackle runs. I know this is a lot to keep up with. Here they are at number 4. They are the 4th best team in the NFL at defending runs inside the tackles, 3.3 yards per carry. So that could prove to be something very good for the Commanders. If the Cowboys don't do their due diligence, if they don't do their homework, if they just say, hey, this has worked for us all season, they're using their strength and playing into a Commander's strength. It's not trying something new to see if you can expose the Commander's weakness. Now, there is a problem with this. So the Commanders use light boxes at the 8th highest rate in the NFL, so less than 7 players in the box. When the Cowboys run the ball against light boxes, they average 6.5 yards per carry. That's the 2nd highest in the NFL. So there's going to be a battle here of A, do the Commanders adjust, put more guys down in the box? And then B, do the Cowboys adjust? Are they willing to go to the horizontal outside runs more than the inside runs they have been favoring so far this season? I know it's a little nerdy, but this is what you look for. Genuinely, when you watch games, these are the things you have to pay attention to. If this is what my team is good at, the other team knows that. So what's my team going to do to counter it? If Joe Witt Jr. gets fired this season or the upcoming off seasons, any replacements that you would want? I'll say the same thing as I said with the linebacker question, Lazarus. And I do appreciate the questions. Don't get me wrong. I would just have to look around the league. There are guys that I'm a fan of, or fans of. Let me just pull up the list of NFL teams so I can give you and get some names up in front of me. Jeff Hafley has no reason to leave the Packers. If the Commanders were to fire Dan Quinn, is that somebody who I could see his stock rising, getting up there? That leads to a whole other conversation about, do you want a defensive head coach when you have Jaden Daniels? That's a whole other question. I think DeMeco Ryans is probably getting fired by the Texans, especially if they lose and they drop to 2-4 against the Seahawks. I think he'd be fired at the end of the season. If he would be open to a defensive coordinator role just to get back in the action quickly, he would probably be number 1 on my list. Some of these other players, it's funny, like you see defensive-minded head coaches or defensive-minded coordinators who become head coaches, doesn't work, and then they get picked up as coordinators again, and they're awesome. Like, look at Saleh back with the 49ers. Look at Ulbrich with the Falcons. There's a lot of coaches out there who are smart. They're just meant to be coordinators, not necessarily head coaches. Cliff leaving, I'd say DQ and Joe be gone too. So when you say Cliff leaving, am I taking you at your word? You mean he's leaving on his own volition, not getting fired? Because the way I'm reading this from how you typed it is Cliff is leaving because he wants to, and then DQ and Joe would be fired. That's the way I'm reading that tweet. DQ, we are not firing DQ. What are we talking about? No, I'm not saying that we are. What I'm saying is if it happens, these are some guys that I would be looking at. I'm not saying he is getting fired. Words matter. Let me get back to what I had over here. Actually, to be honest, I'm just running through my notes, and I feel like I've hit on everything. I feel like I've gotten everything that I wanted to get to. So at this point, guys, like I mentioned, I do have a date with my fiance coming up later today. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to throw them in here. I got a maximum of about an hour that I can be on here, and then I got to hop off. So give me one sec here. Big water bottle, by the way. I'm surprised nobody's commented about this. Does anybody have one of these? It tells you the time of day that you should be at and where the water level should be at. I honestly end up drinking more than one of these every day. I'm probably one of the most hydrated people you will ever meet. No way DQ stays. I think that's most likely. I think I've said this several times, but if I'm doing a power ranking of who's at the greatest risk of being fired, it's Joe Witt Jr. number 1, Dan Quinn number 2, and then Cliff Kingsbury number 3. I think Cliff is the safest right now, but I also think Cliff is the most likely to leave for a new position. He'd be going to coach. Yes. Okay, cool. So we agree on that. Thoughts on Zach Ertz being questionable? My thought is he's old and he will play. What about moving Luvu to edge, McGee and Wagner in coverage, and Reeves in the box? Just small adjustments that Witt could make that would help tremendously. In this game, it does depend on Dorance, obviously. Luvu's not really big enough. He honestly, I'm not trying to disrespect Luvu because he did have a great year and he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He doesn't have great pass rushing moves. He kind of gets there off of tenacity and general feel for the game. But if he's lining up there full time, I don't think it would go very well. He's also not really big enough to set the edge against the run. Now, in a pinch, he might have to do it. Like I'm talking about Kinlaw is going to be at edge on some plays, and maybe Luvu would have to be at edge on some plays as well. This is the way to get McGee on the field. I will say that. A lot of us want to see Jordan McGee get some snaps. The problem is he's supposed to be the heir apparent to Bobby Wagner. And Bobby Wagner being the green dot, you're not going to cycle him in and off the field. And then on every third down, if every third down Jordan McGee runs out on the field, there's no question what's happening. Jordan McGee is dropping into coverage. That's our frustration. Bobby Wagner can't cover right now. So if he's coming off the field, it's probably so the other guy can cover. It would make you it would telegraph what your plan is. But if you do it this way, where it's McGee and Wagner in the middle of the field, Luvu at the edge, that is a way to throw a new look at a team. I don't know the viability of it. I don't know the willingness of the coaching staff to shuffle so many guys around like that, but this is an intelligent thought. And like, seriously, this is a very good thought. This would be the way to go about this. So we'll see if it happens. And if it does, I will remember this. Looks like Vegas knew what they were talking about with us at 9.5 wins. Yeah, I remember Nikki Jabvala of The Athletic getting crushed because her preseason prediction was the Commanders would be 8-9. And everyone was like, man, why you got to be such a Debbie Downer? And she was the only one who, well, I don't want to say had some courage because that makes it sound like I'm saying the other people didn't believe what they were saying, but maybe she was the only one to correctly assess the situation. How about that? Now, my preseason prediction was 9-8, 10-7. I'm not at practice. I'm not at camp, so I didn't really get to see what was going on behind the scenes. I was kind of just using what I thought, like evaluating the schedule, the signings, things like that, the reports coming out of practice. That was my guess. So it looks like I overshot it a little bit as well, but Vegas is $1 billion industry for a reason. They don't lose money very often. Dak going to run motion every down. Yeah, hopefully we can figure out how to communicate. If we give up another big play and then I have to hear somebody say, and we got to get the communication better. It's a communication breakdown. Lord help me. Does Jaden Daniels' performance with the 26 Commanders leave you to believe he's overrated, convince you that he's truly elite? 26 Commanders, we talking about the future here? If we're talking about the 25 Commanders this season, Jaden Daniels has a 4-game sample size right now. The first game of the season, he hadn't practiced with his top 2 receivers the entire offseason, and then he got Terry and Noah for 7 days. He hadn't practiced with his 2 guards. Both of those 2 guards, by the way, got benched because they weren't playing well. They didn't run the ball. They ran the ball effectively, but they didn't even give Bill a carry till like the second or third quarter in that game, so they didn't know their running game situation. Jaden in that game had 300 total yards, 1 touchdown, no turnover. The second game against the Packers was the worst game I've ever seen him play. And then in the 2 games that he's been back, I would say overall he's been you can't cherry pick like this. If he didn't fumble that ball, I would have said the last 2 games he's been really good. As a passer, he has been really good. It's 1 interception. Everybody's going to throw 1 interception every 4 games. We shouldn't be mad that he did that. We should be applauding him. It took 4 games to throw his first pick of the year. Without that fumble, I would say Jaden's been about the 10th best quarterback in the NFL this season. And considering everything that he's dealing with, throwing to practice squad guys, all the movement, I don't think Jaden's overrated at all. All I've seen from him this season is lead me to believe Jaden is the guy that I thought he was. and he can be an MVP candidate in the next couple of years moving forward. His turnovers were bad, but offensively, the Chicago game proved to me he's elite. Yeah, that's how I see it. I just hate he changed it. I just hate hearing here we go for 3 hours. He changed it. He has one cadence. It's you know how Jaden's is. What is Jaden's? What is Jaden's regular cadence? Why am I blanking on it? But when he switches it, he goes alpha, alpha, alpha. Dak has one of those, and he's not saying here we go every time. He's saying, I think he says here's something else. I don't know. I'll listen to it for the game, but here we go is by far the funniest cadence in NFL history. Has to be. He threw a TD to what's his name for the first TD? To Chris Moore. Yeah, he had a touchdown to Chris Moore, Luke McCaffrey, and Zach Ertz. Jaden's got some awesome fun facts, some bar trivia questions about his career. You guys remember who Jaden's first touchdown pass was to? I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds or so. I want to see responses in the chat. Even if you don't know, say I don't know. Take a guess. I want to see it. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds or so. Jaden's first touchdown pass of his career. Who was it to? I'm checking for answers, by the way. I'm checking for answers. If Washington loses next 2 weeks, Adam Peters should be looking to trade Lattimore and Bobby Wagner to LA. If LA wants to say F them picks again and they want to go all in, yeah, why not? What would you do with Luvu and Mikey adjustment-wise? I think Mikey's being a victim of kind of the whole communication issues that are happening on the back end. And also, there was a question that was posed to me recently about what players I feel like are being asked to do more because the defense is not doing its job as a whole. Players are feeling like there's pressure on them to cover more ground, to make bigger plays and stuff like that. I think Mikey is one of those guys. Mikey, when he started playing defense, it was halfway through his career at Michigan. Michigan had the best defense in college football. They go undefeated. They win a national championship. He's moved back to what is supposed to be his natural position. But as the guy playing in the nickel, you're kind of a connector. You're connecting the outside corners to the middle of the field, to the safeties. So Mikey hasn't been good this season, don't get me wrong, but I do just feel like with his general physical limitations, he's not someone who can naturally overcome a lot. It's kind of like, that's not a good comparison. I'm not even going to say it. I just think fixing communication would be good for Mikey. With Luvu, he's just got to fix his tackling. His tackling's been bad, and he's got to fit the run better. He freelances a little bit on some run plays, and in the pass game, sometimes that can work, specifically if you're not going against a mobile quarterback. Jonathan Allen was the master of freelancing. In the run game, because you don't have all of that speed that I've talked about so many times now, if you freelance and if you don't fit the run well, it's going to create big holes. And we saw that. Luvu still played well generally against the Bears, but you did see it on a couple of carries. All right, so we got some ball knowers in the chat. Trent Scott, O-lineman, that O-lineman, LOL. Yeah, okay. So yes, Jaden's first career touchdown pass was to Trent Scott. Fun bar trivia question. When Jaden gets a statue built outside of the new RFK Stadium 15 years, 20 years from now, make sure you guys remember that. Lattimore has played well the last couple of games. He has. The only thing bad I would say about him, but it's really bad, the effort on the missed tackle by Quan where Swift scored the 55-yard touchdown, just pathetic effort. Pathetic effort from a professional athlete. I don't care what his name is. I don't care if he's a rookie or veteran. I don't care what position he's playing. That was pathetic. If drafts keep going the way it is, how long of a leash do you give Peters to fix this? I was impressed at first, but a little dicey now, looking like to me. I don't think Peters' drafts are an issue right now. And the reason I say that is Peters drafted guys a lot based off of their athletic potential, more so than being immediate contributors on day one. So I'm not really judging Josh Connolly right now. If anything, I'm judging the improvement I've seen, which has been there. I'm not judging Johnny Newton for being on the bench because Payne's getting close to $30 million. Kinlaw's getting $15 million a year. And when Newton has been on the field, he's done well. Sainer still had a good rookie year despite being asked to move outside to his unnatural position. I get it hasn't gone well this year, but it's not gone well for anybody. Amos is a stud. Jaden's the best quarterback in the class. And they could have picked Drake May. I'll be honest. I don't know how many people know this. I really, really wanted the Commanders to draft Drake May. I really wanted them to take him over Jaden Daniels. Now, I was wrong. I am so happy to say that I was wrong. But it was a debate. The Jaden pick was not open and shut case. They had to get that right, so they did do that. Someone like Ben Sinnott is a little weird. Like that's a guy where you drafted him in the second round, and second round picks are supposed to be on the field within the first 2 years. The problem is he's a good blocker, but he's not better than John Bates. And he's a solid receiver, but he's not better than Zach Ertz. So what's he supposed to do right now? Some of these other guys, Jordan McGee, they can't bench Bobby just the way their defense is structured because he is the green dot. He is the signal caller. So he's not going to get on the field. JJB showed some stuff here and there, but he's gotten injured. Coleman's probably the biggest one because he was inactive. Coleman was a third-round pick. It's not someone like Dom Hampton who was converting positions. He was in the fifth round. Coleman's a guy who you should definitely be looking at. But again, he was drafted off of athletic potential. For most of these rookies, as long as they keep going with this approach, I'm probably going to say we have to wait maybe close to a full contract to give a fair evaluation of how I see him. And that's not a cop-out answer. At least it's not me trying to give one. But genuinely, if you draft someone off of what they can be, well, that's down the line. That's not right now. But I do like the question. Don't get me wrong. And if it doesn't go well, I'll be here to call out Adam Peters. Both of them guys should have INTs or INTs. Score for Sunday. Check the game preview tomorrow. Not going to tell you right now because then you have no incentive to watch the preview. I wanted May myself. Yeah, listen, May's been great this year. May's been one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Whether or not he can sustain it, we'll see. He is a good quarterback. So, and even if he wasn't, even if he sucked, there's no shame in being wrong. I was a Drake guy. Drake is balling out this season. Yeah, 100%. Glad Jaden is great, though. Guys, I think this is my cue to go ahead and get on out of here. We are at just about an hour, and like I said, I got a hot date that I got to run to. So appreciate you all joining me once again. Even though the stream is ending, do me a favor, hit that like button because this video gets posted as a video after I end it, and I still want to make sure everybody else can see it. So I'm going to head on out of here. Appreciate you guys being in here. Last comment of the stream, 30-28 Washington. You will get my official score prediction in my preview tomorrow. Guys, I will be gone. I'll be back tomorrow. Aubrey misses game winner. I'm not betting against Matt Aubrey. That's going to do it, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day.